Live. The live stream is on, so I hope that everything is working now. Success.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Today we're doing a session about data protection, and we're going to look how you can protect your data so it doesn't get lost or unauthorized access. And the second part is going to be about how you can protect sensitive data and all the techniques that come with it in the de-identification process. This is a well-known for data protection. It's a well-known fact in the data protection theory that there are 5 safes based on, and I will explain them element per element. I'm first going to start with safe people. So the first question with the data, we need to ask if the people can be trusted with this data. Do the researchers maybe need extra training to handle the data in an appropriate manner? And also it's good if it's not handled in appropriate manner, that there could be consequences. The second element is safe projects. There we ask the question, is the use of the data appropriate, lawful, ethical, and sensible? So referring to the GDPR rules in Europe, but I assume it's a little bit the same in Latin America, that we can only collect data for public benefit and not more data than necessary. There need to be maybe team agreements about it and sign different contracts for that. And you need to declare clearly the purpose why you're collecting which data. The third element is safe settings. In the safe settings, there are a lot of parts that are important here. So does the data tool prevent unauthorized access? Are there access controls on the technology and physical environment you can take? Then we have the authorization and authentication, what I will explain later in the access control. We have encryption, automatic logout, and the automatic logout is a little bit about healthy habits, good habits, and automatic good safe settings in your system. And the last part is about using a safe medium. I'll first start with the access rights. So I don't know if you know the difference between authorization and authentication, but I'll explain it. So authorization is all about giving the correct access rights to the correct people. So we and the researchers should think in front, okay, who needs to have access, and only give the minimum access that is needed. For the authentication, we do an extra effort to see if the person is the person that, to identify that you're really the person who you are. If I take an example of the cloud environment, and I know that Cuba is using also cloud environment, there you can put normally different access controls for the authorization. like in our Google environment, we can put file rights, writer rights, commenter rights, and you have all different kinds of settings. So it's important if you're using a cloud environment to look if the correct access rights are installed or set up. I don't. Who is here from Cuba? Because I want to ask a question about this. I think Dianelis, are you from Cuba? Grizzly for sure, I know. But my question is, you're using it. You're using the cloud, eh, Grizzly?
We use cloud. Use
Yes.
cloud.
And do you know if they installed? Do you know if you're using different access control in it? Do you have the
Different,
possibility?
pardon? Could you repeat?
Yes. So in this cloud environment, is it possible to use different settings in access control? Like writer, reading settings.
No, I don't know if if our researcher use this kind of.
Okay.
I don't know, Hannah.
It's no problem. I'm just asking if you're aware of it. And is there somebody else that is using a cloud platform for the moment?
Hannah, in Bolivia is the same,
Mm.
but I don't know.
If with the access rights, but maybe try by next time figure out that because that's an important part.
Okay.
Good. Okay. If I go further here, and then I want to say something about the kinds of authentication you can do. You can do a single factor authentication, a two-factor authentication, or a multi-factor authentication. Authentication is a process where you prove that it's you, and that can be done by different levels. The best is, of course, the multi-factor authentication. And that first level, single factor authentication, then it's something you know, like a password to log in on your system, on your laptop. The second level is called the two-factor authentication. And that will use something you normally only have. And that can be a password sent to your email or a code to your phone, or sometimes when I'm using my personal Gmail, I just need to confirm on my phone that it's me. That's called two-factor authentication. Then the third part is called the multi-factor authentication. It's, of course, the strongest, and it is a combination of something you know, it's something you have, and something you are. And what do we mean with something we are? We mean, you can, for example, on here on the laptop, we have fingerprints that it's just like biometric info about yourself that proves it's really you. So again, I'm going back to the group because I always like to know how it works in your institution. Grizzly and Andrea and Dianelis maybe, or Maria Josefa. Are you using passwords on the laptops?
Yes.
Okay. And is there, are they using fingerprints? Only passwords, maybe.
No, just password. The finger signs is not in
On the
the
laptop.
laptops.
Yeah. And
No, no.
even we have like the fingerprints but I asked the IT department, and it's disabled because there was a problem with a conflict with passwords. So sometimes that also doesn't work. But anyways, and the other institutions, Andrea?
Only con la cuenta institutional account.
Yeah. So yeah, with the institutional credentials, like we call that a single sign-on. So we also, when we log in on our platform, like the intranet, then we need to use our institutional credentials, and that's called single sign-on. I didn't mention that here, but it's good that you mentioned it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go further on this. Encryption of the medium. So you can encrypt your data in different ways. And to explain what encryption is, I try to put some, I'm going to see if I have a pointer here, then you can follow. So I put like here the sort of picture to make it understandable easier. Encryption is a way to scramble data so that only authorized parties can unscramble it. So if information is converted into sort of secret code that hides the information from the true meaning. What we have at the institution in the beginning, we're working with Windows, still working with Windows. And we could use BitLocker for Windows to encrypt it. But I need to say an important note here, and it's important that you hear this, what I'm saying. Encrypting your laptop is very strong, but it's with a password. And that needs to be done by an IT expert because they normally know how to save very well the passwords and make a backup of that. Because losing the key means losing your data, and it cannot be undone by an IT expert. So you have the part of encrypting your laptop, and you have the part where you can encrypt data itself. But for those techniques, I will give explanation in the second part. Okay. Is that something used in the institution, encryption of the laptops? I go back to Grizzly of Andrea.
Excuse me, repeat, Hannah?
So encryption of laptops, is that used in the institution?
No.
Not
No.
yet. Okay.
Nothing.
Don't think so in usual way.
So I have
No, Hannah. I don't know.
yeah, and Dianelis I have here. Is there somebody from another institution here that can also give me the answer to this?
No,
No. So,
no.
okay. Good.
Sorry, Sheila,
Sheila?
es de Cienfuegos.
Yes, but I think that we not inclusion means we have an inclusion. I don't know. Sorry for my English.
No, that's fine. I do understand. Maybe one day I'll speak a little bit more Spanish and understand. No, but by us, it was also in the beginning that the researchers needed to do themselves, and we clearly explained to look very good with this password. It's very good to do it. But to give an example, if researchers would do like local downloads on their computer, and this laptop gets stolen, they can just take the hard drive out, and that is not encrypted then, and then people can just reach the data. So that's why encryption is good, and yeah, to prevent the unauthorized access. Okay. Then this part is more about good habits. Good habits is like closing your PC when you go away from your PC or from your device, closing the room physically. The hard disks that you're using should be put safely away. It maybe sound like evident, but it's not always done. Yeah, that's just something I want to mention that is also important. What did I put there also? That the standard folder in the browser. Normally, I don't know what browsers you're using, but we're using the Chrome browser here from Google. And you have there in the settings, the download folder, and standard, that's local. But you can change that folder to a cloud folder, for example. So what we also suggest is to change that folder. So when somebody is doing downloads of data, that it's not just locally stored on a computer. Then we come to the correct medium. So what we don't advise is a personal drive in the cloud, but more like a collaboration shared drive. The reason is, and I think it could be the same for other cloud platforms, that my drive, personal drive or OneDrive on SharePoint, that's mostly for individual use and not for collaboration. And that means that when the researcher leaves the institution, that there is a legal problem to access the data if it's not shared. That's why we put in our RDM policy that data should be shared, the collaborated data, with the promoter. And that can also be sensitive data if it's allowed that these persons see the data. Then I have two other things like USB sticks, and that's external memory. And I also mostly mention hard disks here because they are very sensible to degenerate. And that means that your data, after a while, because of the magnetic system, gets lost. There, what we advise, and we do understand, we advise this only if we have other possibilities to give. If you have a cloud institutional platform or an on-prem storage, you should use that above the external memory. But if it's not possible, then make sure that the external devices that you're using, that are good devices. What we see by our researchers, that a lot, they look for themselves for these solutions and go for the cheapest system. And often that means a system that will degenerate quicker. So what we advise is that they contact our IT department to look what can be a good external medium. And then, yeah, like I said before, local storage is also not a good idea. And by local storage, I really mean on your PC, on your desktop, on your downloads. Mostly it's the C drive that's local. But on the network of the institution is normally safe. I already asked a little bit when we did the session about the data storage, how that works in each institution. So I'm not going to ask that again. And then for the backup, most researchers feel comfortable even if it's in the cloud. Normally, a cloud system has a very good backup system, but they want still to have kind of a backup. if they take backups, it's very important that is a synchronized backup, and we advise a free software tool for that, and that's called Sync Back Free. Then this is also a scheme that I made to show you that protection in settings can be done by different techniques, like I mentioned before, but also on different levels. You can start on your digital data by, if it's personal and sensitive data, to put on de-identification techniques on it. You can put passwords on it. You can put access control on the files, or on the folder or the drive. It can be encrypted. The network, mostly when you use the institutional network, also when we, for example, use the VPN, it's safer than to use your own network because there are extra protections there. And then your external drive, you can encrypt it or put a password on, and to the location, but also on the physical, not to be forgotten. So in the labs, the samples should be stored good away and locked and in containers. Access control to a lab, and then to the location itself. Sometimes people need to use an access card or a code. So that is to give an overview how you can, on different levels, protect your data. Then we come to the fourth element of the 5 safes. And this is about, is there a disclosure risk? So do you have sensitive and personal data? From the moment we have personal data, we are mandatory by law, GDPR law, to de-identificate a little bit. Now, there is a difference between using your data and de-identify to a certain level and the de-identification in a publication. Most people are a little bit afraid to put their data open access, but it can benefit to the public. So we do advise to do it if possible, so as open as possible, as closed as needed. But we do advise to ask for experts or a sort of assessment that they can see it's really with a low risk or minimum risk as possible. The difference between pseudonymization and anonymization I will explain in the second part. It's all about finding the balance between usability and privacy, because that is the tricky and difficult part in this de-identification process. The fifth element is about the output. So that's again how to minimize the risk that when publishing it, that you minimize that risk. And that's again finding that balance about what is usable, but what should be private. But we'll go into that in the second part of this session. To end the part of protecting data, I summarize 5 golden rules. Lock your infrastructure. If needed, but ask experts. Losing the key means losing data. So this is important what you can do on your infrastructure. On network and folder level, we can put access rights on there. And then for the de-identification, and that is again on the data part, we can put different techniques on there, like K-anonymity will be explained in the second part. And what we are using here, and that I didn't mention before, it's also not so safe to send your data by email to somebody else. There are normal external tools that you can use to send the data. We use Belnet file sender, but I maybe need to look into in America, what you can, Latin America, what you can use there. If possible, not advisable, the C drive, the My drive, or a local download. Okay, then we can start already with the second part, and this is going to be about personal and sensitive data and best practices in it, and how to minimize the risk to disclosure. So first I want to ask, do you know the difference between personal and sensitive data? And everybody of the group is freely to answer this question. And it's not bad if you don't know it, and then you're in the good place here to learn, but so I go a little bit to the persons that I already know, Grizzly or Dianelis or Andrea. Any idea?
We are working in a political, but now, no.
And do you know the difference between the personal and sensitive data?
No.
That's okay. Okay, let's go further.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I think that the difference between personal and sensitive data is that personal data are something like our name, last name, but are data that not affect our security or affect our personal life. So the sensitive data affect the security or the personal life of the people. For instance, some sickness or problem that people maybe have, they don't want that other people know. It's something like this. I think that.
Yeah, I think that's a good summarization. So personal data is more, we can identify somebody by the name and other direct identifiers, what I will explain later. And sensitive data is going to be more about if this data gets exposed, it can do possible harm to somebody. I'll give the definitions.
Hannah,
Yes.
sensitive data, health and illness.
Yeah, exactly. Medical data, that's sensitive data. Yeah, thank you. So these are the definitions. So personal data is data relating to identified or identifiable natural person. And the personal data is particularly sensitive by their nature. And here are all kind of examples like political opinions, religion, health data, biometric data. So all these we consider as sensitive data. Then we have here an example. If you take a look at this picture, it's a little bit of a comic. Don't worry, we will only save general information about you, not anything that could identify you. You see the group, one brown chicken, and on the paper is brown chicken. Just to give you an example, how quickly it can be de-identified. This is in numbers and an example by people I work together with the University of Rotterdam. There are researchers doing research already on it, and one is working for justice and gives lessons in cybersecurity. And he a little bit put it in how many calculation bits do you need to know if it's one person in the world, if you say it's one person in Europe, in the Netherlands, and then we go further to, for example, if I'm giving lessons in a class and I say, oh, the person had a green sweater on and there was only one, yeah, okay, then we directly know who it is. And there is a website where they collected a lot of data that was public. And that's from the UK, and that's something we can try out. I will see if I can go directly to this link from here. Then I maybe need to change my pointer option, arrow options. Just a second. It's not working the way I want to. Okay. No, select the pointer. Wait, I'm going out of the PowerPoint for a moment. Okay, so I can show you this website. So this is the website. I'm going to put this website, trying to put it in the Jitsi chat. Okay. Okay. Did you receive the link? Thumbs up if you received the link in the chat, or just say yes. Andrea, Daniels, Grizzly.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Did you receive the link?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Now,
Yes.
You can try it yourself, but I do not know if also, yeah, the whole country is in there. So you see, they have data, and you see they have data about Peru. Cuba is somewhere over here. I think they also have data. And where is Bolivia? Help me. Okay, so if I would put in Belgium, then it would calculate, okay, you live in Belgium, it's 11 million chance out of 11 million, because we're with 11 million people here. Then I say where I live, and I live in Limburg in Hasselt. And then again, you see there is a bigger chance. Now we have 418,000 people. When I put in my birth date, and I'm not going to put in my real birth date because this is saved. This is recorded. I made myself a little younger though. I'm at 14 people out of 11 million now. What is my gender? Now it's 6. Married. I'm out of 2. And if you go on here, you see, it's just to give an example how this works. You can try it out yourself. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint again. Okay, you see my PowerPoint again. If not, let me know.
I do it and
yeah.
say that there is one person with all these characteristics.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
even
know if one person, it's me.
yeah, wait, and that's Grizzly speaking, right? Grizzly? That was Grizzly,
Yes,
yeah?
it's me.
Yeah. And in Cuba, how many people live in Cuba?
Around 11 millions.
I'm looking it also up because I don't know anything. Yeah, so you know from that, and then go further on from that chance. But sometimes when I do it, for example, in the Netherlands, I think it's 4 times as big as Belgium, then the chance is lower if I do the same metric elements in there. But it's interesting to see, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go further. Yes?
No, two people.
Okay. So we have 2 principles again, minimization and storage minimization. Anybody an idea what that means? So minimization means that we're only going to take the minimum personal data as necessary. As I mentioned before, the GDPR says you need to explain very good why you're collecting the data and that it's for public benefit and not more than necessary. And this storage location means that personal data that you are not that no longer is needed should be erased. But like I said before, that this is about finding a balance between protection and usability. I have an anonymization working group where you're all also freely to join. Every month we discuss some techniques. We already did some demos of software tools what you can use. But what we also hear a lot, that it's for researchers very difficult to find, okay, till which level do I go here? And that they don't lose information about the data. If I give an example here, and I'm going to put the pointer back on. So if I give an example here, you see this is the full info with the name, the date of birth, and so on. If you would de-identify them a little bit, we would take away the name. We don't need the exact date of birth for this research. Year is enough. And then you can see how it can be further de-identified. But if you take a look at this graphic, you see between utility and privacy, the more you make it private, the less usability will be. The same with pictures. If you take the full picture or blurred hand, of course, the utility would be less and less identifiable. So what we say is, here is your original data. This challenge is to find the maximum tolerable risk here. In this figure, you can see that the data utility will be high for the original data. But the privacy, of course, is low. And then we look to a balance where it's good, at a good minimum risk for the release data. But if you would take highest, the lowest disclosure risk, that's how this graphic works, there would not be usability of the data. A tool researchers can use is the Anonymization Pseudonymization plan. It's something what I found from a Finnish institution, and I thought that was very useful. You can use it as an add-on to the data management plan. I know that a lot of researchers see it or gonna see it as an administrative burden, even the data management plan. But us as RDM champions, we should motivate and convince the researchers why data managing is so important. And the same for the privacy and the rules what go with it. So this is just a tool that they can use or document where they describe clearly, okay, who made this anonymization pseudonymization plan, who are the persons carrying out anonymization, Are there features that will impact the anonymization decisions? Is there an assessment that will be done? And what anonymizations techniques that they have chosen? What is the rationale for that? I'm quickly going out of the PowerPoint so you can see this document. Just a second. Okay. And then I can show you the document normally. So this is the document. So you see here what I said, all these kind of things. It's freely available, and I think it's really useful document. Now, before I'm gonna load the PowerPoint again, before we start with this going further in the techniques, shall we take a break of 5 minutes? Or do we go further? Andrea, Tianelis, Grizzly? I'm calling up the same persons, but... And Maria Josefa, is that Fifi? Fifi?
Yes, I am.
You want to take a break of 5 minutes? Or do we go a little further? No decision. Okay, I'm going to decide. Take a break of 5 minutes and we come back, and then I'll explain the de-identification techniques. Huh? So everybody can take a coffee now, and I'll see everybody back in 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, 5 minutes break. We'll start again. I hope everybody is back. So now I'm going to explain the part of the pseudonymization techniques and the anonymization techniques. I'm going back to my PowerPoint. Okay. So we have pseudonymization and anonymization, and there's a difference. So again, maybe I'll start with a question to the group. Who's familiar with pseudonymization? Who knows the difference? Maybe can you put your camera on for a second to see who's back and who is not? Maybe it's also, or you can also put in the chat instead of the camera, because that's maybe difficult with the connection. But okay, Dianelis is back. And is somebody else back? Put some.
Слышно хорошо.
Live streaming
Да.
is on.
Ассаляму алейкум.
Так, тебя сегодня, кстати, очень громко и классно слышно.
Ух ты.
С чем это связано?
Понятия не имею. Может быть, потому что наушники по-другому. Точнее, не по-другому, а как-то. Ну, были вытащены, потом опять просто включил, и как-то так вышло.
Не знаю. Мне кажется, так это с интернетом связано. Так, как эти сигналы показывают. Вот зелененький у тебя показывает.
А обычно как? Желтенький.
Желтый. Так. Наша задача на сегодня опять точно такая же. Я ничего не делаю, ты все делаешь. Поехали. Так, час 20. Этим будем заниматься. Начнем с таблицы. Поехали. Иван, тебе видно текст?
Да-да-да, все видно.
Так, 6-метровая теплица у Ивана Юрьевича. И дуги у нас полуокружности, которые 5,53 метра каждая.
Ага.
Для передней и задней теплицы отдельно пленку нужно купить. В средней стенке планируется вход. Ну, давай вопросы читать, да, и возвращаться к тексту. Согласен?
Да-да-да. Какое наименьшее количество
Какое
дуг?
наименьшее количество дуг нужно заказать, чтобы расстояние между соседними дугами было 70 миллиметров? Так, длина теплицы 6 метров, да?
То есть 70 сантиметров нужно, чтобы расстояние было.
Угу. Ну, это легко.
Где?
Где наш калькулятор?
Это сколько войдет в 5,5 метров по этому?
Почему в 5,5? Так, смотри. Иван Юрьевич, так, теплицу длиной 6 метров.
6. Ага.
Нужно, во-первых, нужно все привести в какую-то единую меру, да?
Угу.
Во что будем, в сантиметрах или в метрах?
В сантиметрах.
В сантиметрах. Так, что мне нужно посчитать?
Нужно посчитать интервал между этими.
Ну, какое действие? Давай.
Деление с остатком.
Ну, давай быстрее. Какое действие мне нужно сделать?
553 разделить на 70. Ой,
Смотри. Для каркаса теплицы металлические дуги в форме полуокружности длиной 5. Это длина дуг. Это АД.
Вот, теплица длиной 6 метров. Вот.
Угу.
70 делить на... 6 делить... 600 делить на 70. Все.
600 делить на 70. 60 делить на 7. В уме получится сделать?
Ну, будет около 9... 8-9. Нет, будет 8. Без остатка 8.
Уверен?
Да. Ну как,
Давай
9 уже будет выходить.
Какое наименьшее количество дуг нужно заказать?
8 дуг. Ну как? Ну то есть 9 это ж уже будет...
Смотри. Расстояние между дугами...
нет, 8
было...
нельзя. Значит 9.
9.
Да,
если 8 будет более 70 сантиметров, да?
Угу.
Потому что если по 70 останется 60 сантиметров, будет еще не хватать.
Ага.
То есть 9 дуг. Если на одинаковом расстоянии их делать, получится нужно 6 метров разделить на 9 дуг, получится каждые 666 миллиметров будет дуга.
Да.
И... Так, сколько упаковок плитки необходимо купить Ивану Юрьевичу для дорожек между грядками, если она продается по 14 штук. Так, что там про дорожки написано? Между грядками дорожки шириной 50 сантиметров, для которых необходимо купить тротуарную плитку. А сколько грядок? Внутри теплицы сделает 3 грядки по длине теплицы и одну центральную широкую грядку. То есть дорожек у нас получится сколько?
4.
Давай думать еще раз. Внутри теплицы Иван Юрьевич планирует сделать 3 грядки по длине теплицы и одну центральную
Если
широкую
удобно,
грядку.
то 4. Если взять, удобно, то по факту 4.
Давай нарисуем. Давай нарисуем.
Там же одна большая, она в 2 раза длиннее, в 2 раза шире, чем...
Да, а дорожек сколько будет? Нам же дорожки нужно.
Хорошо, 3 дорожки.
Давай нарисуем вид сверху, рисую. Пам-пам-пам-пам, наша теплица. Вид сверху. Значит, смотри, одну широкую посередине и 2 длинные по бокам, да?
Да.
Грядки зарисую красным или какой-то цвет. Цвет растения уже вот такой, да? А дорожки зарисую желтым. Сколько дорожек получилось?
Чего? Я чуть не понял, наоборот должно быть.
Вот широкая грядка и грядки длинные. Давай читаем текст. Внутри теплицы Иван планирует сделать 3 грядки.
Ага.
По длине теплицы. Одну центральную и 2 узкие.
Грядки.
Смотрим рисунок. Сколько дорожек получилось?
2.
Так. Между грядками дорожки 50 сантиметров, для которых необходимо купить тротуарную плитку размером 25 на 25. 14 штук в упаковке. Так, теперь нужно площадь дорожек посчитать, да?
Да. Между грядками.
Ширина 50 сантиметров.
Ага.
Помогай мне, слышу уже голос у меня нету.
6 метров в теплице, значит, 20, нужно 6 разделить на 25.
Не, смотри, вот одна грядка 50, вторая грядка 50.
25.
Суммарная какая у них вот ширина?
Суммарно 100.
100.
По 4.
А длина?
Длина 600.
600. Как найти площадь?
100 на 600 умножить. И поделить на 25.
Чем на 25 делить?
Чтобы понять, сколько плиток надо.
Смотри, у нас 6 квадратных метров, так? 1 метр это сколько плиток? Если они 25 на 25.
Получается 4 на 4. 16 плиток. 16 плиток в 1 метре квадратном. Соответственно, квадратных метров у нас 6.
Ага.
Вот. Значит, 16 на 6 будет сколько там?
6 и 6, 36. 6 пишем 3 в уме. 6
96.
96 плиток, да?
Да.
96. В одной упаковке
По 14, да. По 14. Это будет там где-то около...
В одной упаковке 14 штук.
Да. Получается,
сколько
там
упаковок?
где-то 7, наверное. 7 это будет близко к 96.
96 нужно поделить на 14, да?
Соответственно, да. Так
Давай,
вот, да.
7 ее 70, 7 и 4, 28.
Ага, да, вот 7 как раз.
Так. 7 и 4, 28.
7 нужно. 7.
8 пишем.
Сколько?
1 в уме. 7 и 1, 7 и 1 в уме, 88. 88 же.
Нет. Как
2 в уме, да? 98.
7 на 10. Да.
Все, убедил. Так. Найдите ширину теплицы АД, число π возьмите 3,14. Ответ дайте в метрах с точностью до сотых.
В сантиметрах.
Найдите ширину теплицы АД.
До сотых, да.
Ну,
Ага.
это вообще халява. Что нужно сделать?
Сколько там они? 5,53. Каждая дуга. Это дуга, она половина или сколько?
АД, дуга, это вот
полуокружность,
АД.
да?
Ну да, половина.
Что надо вычислить? Площадь дуги.
АД, ширину нужно найти. Длину знаем, ширину нужно найти с такой дугой.
Ширину найти? Ну, так это ж, получается, мы 5,53 умножаем на 2.
Совершенно верно, 5,50.
И делим на...
Умножим на 2. А дальше?
Делим на π.
И делим на...
Π.
На 3?
На 3,14, да.
3,14.
Все, вот. Да.
3,52. Интересно, давай проверим, вдруг неправильно.
Правильно.
3,52. Давай другие проверим тоже. 7 и 10.
10, а у нас 9.
А почему у нас... Почему 10? Давай считать. У нас 9 можно было сделать. С одной стороны, с другой стороны, да?
Да.
Так. 600 делим на 9. 66. Крайней нет у нас получается, да, что ли?
Ну крайние нужны. Блин, я еще в начале задачи сказал, надо не забыть про крайние. Потому что...
Раз, два, три, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. А сколько проемов? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Блин, я тоже не подумал. Вот так вот закажешь теплица, а потом хренак, и придется ее делать короче. Так, что у нас 600 разделить на 8, да? 75. Мы с тобой оба двоечники. В самом первом задании ошиблись. Так, надеюсь.